is the fact that the name DEI was not what it was called before. It was called Affirmative Action
Mhm.
in 1961, and
In the 60s,
diversity,
yeah.
yeah, and diversity initiative in 2000. Then 2010, that's when we started saying, well, DEI, DEI. And it
Mhm.
seems that the change in name did not favor the whole movement, because now in 2025, DEI now was under a very great attack than it was in previous years, based on my understanding. So I want you to say something about that. Is
Yeah,
that
the things evolve and change, and yes, back in the 60s, it was affirmative action with the executive order with Lyndon B, the president then, Lyndon B. Johnson, and it was basically, we know that people were don't have the same opportunities. It acknowledged that and said that we need to do affirmative actions to try to, for a better word, level the playing field, if you were, but not doing things where that were illegal against the Civil Rights Act, but basically saying that, we don't want you to be hiring people on the basis of what they look like, whether that be female, race, sexual orientation, whatever. And so, um, but there was a lot of folks back then, as you can imagine, with at the height of the Civil Rights Act, that didn't like that. They didn't like it. They didn't subscribe to it, and so there was a lot of energy that got to trying to squelch that movement and just the work. And then uh, we started to hear diversity and inclusion, and mainly diversity. It was like diversity. And I can remember when I was in Jacksonville, as a matter of fact, and I was responsible for employee equal employment opportunity at the place where I was working. It was one of the things that I was responsible for. So affirmative action plans, and I can remember the head of affirmative action. They were talking about her, talking with her to say, well, we should change the name to diversity, the diversity organization. And she was like, oh, no, we need to keep it affirmative action. That's what it's about, et cetera, et cetera. And eventually, while affirmative action and EEOC plans, all of that didn't go away, the name diversity started to evolve and become part of this. And then inclusion was added, because diversity is acknowledging the differences in people, differences you can see, differences you can't see. That's diversity, it's differences. And then inclusion started becoming a part of that, where it's okay, we want to make sure that we're creating an environment with all these different people with all their different identities, that there's a culture of inclusion so everyone feels valued and empowered to lift and elevate their voice. And so then fast forward to 2020s and 2022, 2023, 2024, and 5, where um, it's again, I told you that pendulum is
yeah,
swinging to conservatism, where people are saying, well, that diversity, equity, inclusion, all it did was exclude those that are in the majority,
mhm,
and it gave those that were in the minority preferential treatment, and that's against the law. And again, without understanding the essence of what it is, diversity, equity, and inclusion, all of those, um, uh, all of that misinformation then surfaced and raised its head. So now people are saying, well, maybe we just need to call it something else. And I don't know if we need to call it something else. I just think we need to be very clear in how we're explaining it. And I get it that, you don't want to be able to not do the work anymore. But what people, I don't think, understand, Tolu, is diversity is differences in people, differences you can see and you can't see.
mhm,
Inclusion is, how do you, is basically the collective purpose of an organization. So for an organization, that would be the mission and vision of that organization, why that organization exists. And then equity is how you get all of those people with all of their differences, different skills, capabilities, um, cultural backgrounds, identities, obstacles, barriers. How do you get all of those people with all of those differences to that collective purpose? And acts of equity is how you do that, because you have to meet people where they are, understand what's getting in the way for them to be able to grasp and understand and embrace that collective purpose, and put those acts in place to get them from where they are to where you want them to be, which is ultimately that collective purpose of that organization. You can't run an organization successfully if you don't get that, if you don't understand that. And so understanding the essence of diversity, equity, inclusion, it's basically good leadership, it's good management, and then also it's good business. On the business side, it's marketing 101. Because if whatever I sell, whatever it might be, a product, a service, I have to understand my customer base. And if I don't understand my customer base, which by the way is extremely diverse, you have to do the customer segmentation. You have to understand different markets. You have to understand your different aspects of what's getting in the way of them being able to leverage and use your product or your service. And in order to do that, you have to understand the diversity of your customer base. So, and that's marketing 101. If you don't understand how to do that, you can't even sell your product. You can't commercialize it, can't get it to the market. So it's basic understanding of these simple diversity, equity, and inclusion principles that I'd like to explain very pragmatically, that if you don't understand that, you're not going to be successful as a manager, as a leader, or in your business.
Wow.